After years of sacrificing for my family, my father told me I was nothing but a disappointment and kicked me out of the house. He mocked me, saying I was a failure and would never be successful. As I packed my bags, I could feel the anger rising. I whispered, "You have no idea what I've been planning." What he didn't know was that I was about to take everything he had worked for. I don't even know where to start, but I guess I have to go back to when I was a kid. Growing up in Joliet, Illinois, my family wasn't rich by any means, but my dad acted like we owned the place. He was the boss of everything, his machine shop, his family, his world. And I was just the kid who never quite fit. From the very beginning, I wasn't his favorite. Dean was the golden boy. He could do no wrong. Dean got the attention, the respect, the real man praise. Me? I was the soft one. The failure. The problem. I was 17 when Mom got sick. Cancer. I dropped everything. College plans? Tossed out the window. I became her nurse, her driver, her emotional crutch. I worked nights at the local grocery store, sometimes skipping sleep to keep the house clean and the yard tidy. Dean barely showed up except for a few visits that felt more like a social obligation than anything else. Dad? He was colder than ever. When Mom was too weak to cook, he'd snap at me for not making his dinner on time. "She's your mother, not mine," he told me once when I begged him to help. I told myself it was just stress. But it was more than that. He resented me. When Mom died, that should have been the moment everything changed. I thought maybe we'd finally come together as a family. Instead, Dad blamed me. Told me I made her sicker with all my fussing. The same man who never lifted a finger to help. I stayed silent for a long time. I thought maybe if I worked harder, sacrificed more, maybe he'd finally see me. But he never did. Then came last Thanksgiving. The worst day of my life. Dean showed up with his new girlfriend, a woman half his age, flaunting it like a trophy. Dad was laughing, drinking scotch, acting like he was proud of his successful son. I tried to say something, anything, but Dad cut me off with that voice, the one dripping with disgust. "You've been a disappointment your whole life. Nothing you do will ever change that." He said it like it was a final verdict, like I was already dead to him. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I packed my bags that night while they laughed in the living room. When I passed by him, I whispered, "You have no idea what I've been planning." Because I did. What they didn't know was that while I was failing, I was learning. I took online classes in computer programming. I freelanced. I networked. I saved every penny. I started a side business with a guy from Chicago. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than anything I'd ever done before. And I knew exactly where I wanted to strike. Dad's machine shop, Harrison and Sons. The family legacy. The only thing he ever really cared about besides Dean. What he didn't realize was that the business was bleeding money. He'd buried it under debt, ignoring the signs, clinging to old contracts that vanished one by one. I found all the details through some industry contacts I'd quietly made. I put together a plan. Created an anonymous buyer persona. Sent offers. Arranged meetings through proxies. It was slow. It was complicated. But every step felt like justice. When Dad finally signed the sale papers, I felt a cold satisfaction I never thought I'd have. Watching Dean get fired, watching the shop change hands, watching my father lose control, it was a quiet victory years in the making. He called me months later, voice shaky. Said they let him go. He was lost. I told him, "That's what you wanted, isn't it? To see me fail? To see me weak? Now look at you." He never answered after that. I'm in Chicago now. Finished my degree online. Running a tech company. Dating. Living my life without looking back. But sometimes late at night I think about that shop. The empty building with a new name on the sign. And I smile. Because for once, my father knows what it's like to lose everything to someone he never believed in. After the sale, I thought maybe I could finally breathe. But my father wasn't ready to just disappear quietly. Losing the shop didn't break him. It made him dangerous. A few weeks after he got fired, he showed up at my condo in Chicago. He was unshaven, eyes wild with anger and desperation. I almost didn't let him in, but part of me wanted to hear what he had to say. "You think you won, don't you?" he spat. "You think this is the end? I built that shop with my own hands. You're nothing but a parasite. You took what was mine." I didn't flinch. "I took what you gave up, what you refused to protect." He laughed bitterly. "You think you're better than me? You're just a thief hiding behind a computer." That night, he tried to intimidate me, threatened to call the cops on my company, saying I was stealing trade secrets or something. He hired a lawyer to dig into my business, trying to find anything illegal. But here's the thing. He didn't realize I'd done everything by the book. I had records, contracts, and lawyers of my own. I was ready. When his lawyer called to threaten a lawsuit, I sent back a detailed financial report showing how he'd mismanaged the shop into bankruptcy. I countered with a notice that his personal debts might make him liable if he tried to come after me. That pushed him over the edge. Dean got involved, too. He started spreading rumors at my company, trying to scare clients away. He told anyone who'd listen that I was a fraud and a liar, that I stole the family business out from under them. But I had built strong relationships. Clients stood by me. The rumors fizzled out. Still, it hurt. I hadn't expected Dean to turn on me like that. The same brother I'd tried to protect all those years. The breaking point came when Dad showed up at my office, uninvited, yelling in the lobby. Security had to escort him out. He accused me of betrayal, of ruining the family.
I didn't say much that day.
But inside I was shaking. Not from fear, no, from anger. The same anger I'd held back for years. I realized that this revenge wasn't just about business. It was personal. It was about proving that no matter how much they tried to tear me down, I would rise. And I would make sure they never forgot it. Things took a turn I didn't see coming. One evening, I got a call from my lawyer. Turns out, Dad had secretly taken out a second mortgage on the family house without telling anyone. The bank was now threatening foreclosure. If that house went, Dean and I would both be out on the street. It felt like a low blow, but it made me realize something. Despite everything, I still cared about the family home. It was the last piece of my childhood, the only place Mom ever really loved. So, I decided to save it. I reached out to some investors I'd met through my tech business. I put together a loan offer to cover the mortgage, but on one condition: I'd be the one managing the property going forward. Dad found out and went ballistic. He threatened to drag me through court. Said I was stealing his legacy. But here's the twist. Dean didn't back him up this time. After all the rumors and threats, Dean came to me in private. Said he was tired of living in Dad's shadow. Said he wanted out. We made a deal. I'd help him start fresh, financially and legally, if he'd stop interfering. That didn't stop Dad from trying to sabotage me in other ways. Not long after, some of my old freelance clients started getting calls from a company claiming I was involved in shady deals, an obvious attempt to ruin my reputation. But the calls came with a surprise. The number was traced back to my own father's phone. I confronted him. His response? "I'll do whatever it takes to bring you down. You destroyed everything I worked for." It hit me then how deep his bitterness ran. It wasn't just about the shop or money. It was about pride. His pride. The pride he crushed underfoot for years. I realized revenge alone wasn't enough. I had to protect what I built while watching him crumble on his own. Dean moved out of the house soon after, taking his girlfriend with him. Dad was left alone in that cold, empty place. I stood outside that old house one last time before the bank took it. The windows dark, the yard overgrown. It wasn't just a building. It was years of my life. Of pain. Of sacrifice. And maybe in the end, that's what this was all about. Not just revenge, but closure. By the time the bank finally took over the family house, Dad was a shell of the man I once knew. The shop was gone, Dean was gone, and the house, our home, was lost. I stood there watching the foreclosure sign go up, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. It was the end of an era, but also the end of my nightmare. After years of sacrifice, betrayal, and pain, I'd finally won. But winning didn't feel like joy. It was heavier than that. It was justice, cold and hard. I had spent so much time trying to prove myself to a man who never wanted me to succeed. Now, I didn't have to prove anything to him or anyone. With the investor's help, I built a small property management business. The bank didn't just take the house. They handed it over to me. I restored it little by little, not for Dad, but for myself. A symbol that I was no longer defined by that broken family. Then came the final blow. One evening, Dad called me, voice cracked and defeated. "I need help," he said. For years, I'd imagined what I'd say if that call ever came. Revenge screamed at me to hang up, to let him rot. But something else, something buried deep, made me answer. I told him to meet me at a coffee shop downtown. When he arrived, he looked older, smaller. No scorn in his eyes, just regret.
"I was wrong," he said. "About you."
About everything. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Maybe I was a terrible father. Maybe I lost everything because I was too proud to see what mattered. I nodded. "You did." He looked up, eyes glassy. "Is there a way back?" I thought about the years of pain, the nights I cried alone, the countless times I wanted to give up, the way he tried to destroy me piece by piece. But I also thought about Mom, about what she would have wanted. Not hatred. Not revenge for its own sake. "I'm not sure," I said honestly, "but I'm willing to try." We started small. No grand declarations, just cautious steps toward something new. I helped him find work, helped him get on his feet. I never gave him the shop back. That chapter was closed. Dean never came around. He disappeared into his own mess, a casualty of Dad's pride and my revenge. But me? I found peace. Not because I crushed my father's empire, but because I broke free from the weight he placed on me. I'm not proud of every choice I made. I let anger drive me. I let the past consume me sometimes. But I survived. And that's enough. This story isn't just about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life when the people who are supposed to love you most try to tear you down. If you ever feel like giving up on family because they don't see you, know this. Sometimes the hardest battles lead to the strongest freedom. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.